Good evening, everyone. Settle in. How's it going? Good evening. On behalf of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, I'd like to welcome you all to the Wanda Coleman Theater and to the third day, the last day of the 6th Annual Southern California Poetry Festival. And welcome to Poetics of Grief and Liberation. We have some incredible authors here for you tonight. My name is Jimmy Vega. I'm the Associate Director of Beyond Baroque. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tonga peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting Indigenous communities, their stories, and cultures. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles' oldest literary arts center, located here in Venice, California. Founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith, first as an experimental literary magazine before reimagining itself and becoming the literary home we know it as today. We are based out of the original Venice City Hall and help support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and performances. We offer a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday Night Fiction workshop facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop currently facilitated by Arthur Kazakian. Similarly, we offer several paid in-person and online intensive workshops throughout the year. Next week, we'll feature a special critique workshop with Dorianne Locks and Kim Adonisio. And later in December, we'll host a workshop with poet Timothy Steele. Aside from our workshops, we offer over 100 readings throughout the year, and currently in our Mike Kelly Gallery upstairs, we're exhibiting Anonymous Stellar Ravines, Volume 1, by Byron Baker and our poet-in-residence, Will Alexander. Of course, all of this cannot happen without your support, without the support of our community, our members. So if you're a member, thank you for being a member. And if you're not, please do inquire after the reading in our bookstore on how to become a member. We have memberships for the year starting at $60, and our members really allow us to continue the free programming that we host here in the space. And simply put, it allows us to keep the space open. So thank you all for your support. And again, my last time saying this tonight, big thank you to all of our staff. Quentin Ring, Ivan Salinas, Michelle Raphael, Eric Alberg, Genesis Perez, Rhiannon Chavez, Nick Foreman, Tyler Newfield, Leon Rubenhold, Antonio Radic, all of our volunteers from Venice High School. She writes, let's make some noise for them because they put a lot of work to make this festival happen. Yeah. So I think that's it from me. I'm going to introduce every poet up to the mic here. And first, we're going to hear from Teresa May Chuk. Born in Saigon, Vietnam, shortly after the American War, is the author of 3 poetry books, Invisible Light, Keeper of the Winds, and Red Thread. She was Altadena Poet Laureate Editor-in-Chief from 2018 to 2020. Teresa teaches English at a public school in Los Angeles, and she's one of our favorite authors to host here in the Wanda Coleman Theater. Please give it up for Teresa May Chuk.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So a lot of my poetry is based on true experiences of my family and myself through the Vietnam War and as Vietnamese boat refugees. The bomb shelter. When bombs are exploding outside, it means that there are implosions. Vibrations travel through air and liquid. My amniotic fluid is imprinted with airplanes dropping bombs and screams and fire. In the bomb shelter in Saigon, My father teaches my 2-year-old brother French. Je m'appelle Juknai Dat. Je m'appelle. Immigration. It is October when the winds of autumn blow strong in the Pacific. There are over 2,000 of us, sardines, barely human and starving. We sleep on the floor and wash ourselves with seawater. People are sick. When someone dies from sickness, they are wrapped in a blanket and tossed overboard during a Buddhist chant. I was only 2 years old and cannot recollect the dying next to me, nor can I recollect my constant coughing, nor can I recall seeing my mother's worried countenance as she contemplated our future, how my constant crying made her want to jump overboard. Cockroaches. A proposal by someone to my mom after the Vietnam War. Why don't you sell your baby? You don't have anything to eat. A response by my 4-year-old brother. No, don't sell my sister. There are lots of cockroaches for us to eat. When I returned to the country, 18 years later, I saw them. Large, brown, shiny tanks on the wall, evidence of my brother's love for me. This poem is dedicated to my late grandma. Grandma, a hologram. In your physical absence, the hologram of me still contains you. Like a cut leaf, you are part of the light scattered from me, so that even a tiny fragment, an eyelash, still contains the whole of you. This poem is about my Vietnamese name, which is on my birth certificate. Accents. Today, I decided to write with brush and ink my name in Vietnamese, Trúc Mi Tuệ, the one on my birth certificate with all of its beautiful accents, lightning above the U, ocean wave above the Y, mountaintop above and reflection of moon below the E. Today, I made 4 small marks and took back my native language. So after the war, my father was taken to a Viet Cong re-education camp where he spent 9 years. And my mom was pregnant with me at the time. And my mother took my brother and I on a boat and we came here. And this poem is about the first time I saw my father when I was 9 years old. When I first saw Daddy, he was like an Egyptian cat, skinny, foraging, and stern, just released from a Viet Cong prison. He told us he hated the color red. 16 years later, he wears a red sweatshirt and smiles, the pin tip opening in his heart enough to let in a driblet of red. This poem is dedicated to the people of Afghanistan after the war. Depleted uranium. The water runs a neon color in the village. All the villagers know why the babies are born dead and deformed. Others say there's no proof it was the war. Sometimes truth can only be understood. The father carries the little body wrapped in a blanket. She will be buried with a wooden grave marker, her name inscribed with a knife. There are coffins that are only 6 inches long. If you place your hand inside, it will fit. The decade the rainforest died, the deer did not stop running. Leopards climbed into trees that could not hide them. The Duglanker and the white-cheeked gibbon cursed at the metal gods we flew, raining on them as they burned from napalm. Elephants choked on the smoke of gunpowder and poison, their steps a strange rhythm as they tried to fly. The thunder of bombs echoed the steps of elephants. Tigers exploded as they stepped onto landmines. In a forest covered with leaves dead from Agent Orange, fallen trees and decomposing bodies of animals and people. The earthworms were washed away in monsoons with soil that could no longer grab onto roots. The Javan rhinoceros and the wild water buffaloes that were still alive wandered aimlessly. Weary with M16s and AK-47s, we marched quietly and steadily, not knowing why we were killing each other. So a lot of people are familiar with Agent Orange. There were rainbow-colored chemicals that were spread during the American War in Vietnam. And this poem is about a lesser-known, but also very deadly chemical. Agent Blue. Agent Blue. To kill correctly takes calculation, down to a science, arsenic, cacodyllic acid, no water and rice on a cellular level. Make sure no surviving seed can be collected and planted, because even a small seed assures survival, because mortars, grenades, and bombs cannot destroy a grain. Because our heart is made of seeds. Know what it takes to kill the seeds. Know what it takes to deprive the plant of water, to dehydrate it, to be surrounded by love, but unable to absorb it. This poem is about the Chernobyl disaster, and it's called Chernobyl Necklace. And what happened after the nuclear disaster was people developed thyroid cancer, and they had to get their thyroid removed. So there was a scar around their neck. Chernobyl Necklace. The scar is a pink horizon, sunset at the ocean. Each tree still standing in the red forest carries the story in its rings. Blind birds sing, calling to their mates. Broken glass, a plastic doll, the inanimate survive. How many more Aprils will that day be remembered? On my body grow mushrooms that could kill. Out of my heart runs a 6-legged deer. This poem is dedicated to my son. Photosynthesis. How can I convince you that you do have chlorophyll, that you can take the sun's energy and turn it into sugar, produce something sweet inside of you, take the waste people breathe out and make it into something that will keep you alive, that will keep those around you alive, create oxygen. Why do you say that this metaphor doesn't work? That you don't have the powers of a plant, that nature didn't intend you that way? Look how you twist and turn towards the light. I'm keeping track of time. I'll read one. Okay. I have two short poems. This one's dedicated to the people of Gaza. The most blood I remember seeing was when I gave birth to my son. The blood covered his small body and dribbled out of mine. And then the doctor pulled the placenta out from within me. It was covered with my blood. I had never seen so much of my blood outside of my body. This must be the greatest fear in my first experience of separating from something that was such a part of me that my cells themselves created him. I remember seeing so much blood when I watched the news and the Palestinian child running among rubble after bombings was covered in blood. And I wondered if it was the blood of his mother. I have one last poem. This one. This is dedicated to my grandmother. A lesson on interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh says that when I eat an orange, I could taste the clouds, the rain, the sunshine. My late grandmother's love when she planted this tree nearly half a century ago. Hear her voice conversing with leaves. Feel the fluttering wings of bees covered in pollen, and see the iridescent hummingbird that visits daily drunk on the nectar of orange blossoms. Thank you.
One more time, folks. Teresa May Chuck. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for speaking truth to power and holding space. And we know that this evening, Poetics of Grief and Liberation can be heavy, but it's also a good reminder of why we're here and why we've been here for the festival, right? To hold space for each other, to hold space for our grief. And hopefully in doing so, we are leaving some vulnerability so that others can see themselves in your work, or see someone else, right? And be in better community as humans. So thank you for that. Up next, Aideed Medina is a Pushcart Prize nominated poet, award-winning spoken word artist and playwright. She's a UC certified California naturalist. Her work has appeared in Fresno State and Club Austro Literary Magazine, Chicano Writers and Artists Association Journal, Nueva York Poetry Review, Artavista Anthology, and Somos Chicanos Anthology, Riot of Roses Publishing, among others. She is the author of 31 Hummingbird, a full-length poetry collection, Segmented Bodies, and a forthcoming chapbook, Selected Poems from Segmented Bodies. Please welcome to the podium, Aideed Medina.
I come from Fresno, so I thought I would read a poem dedicated to a Fresno woman who needed some liberation and never found it in life. Whale watching in Southern California waters, te traje, María Isabel. Dear United States, you didn't deserve Maria Isabel Solis, her 40 years of making your economy thrive, funding vacations to her homeland for all of your passport-holding, margarita guzzling, sombrero-wearing citizens. Maria couldn't go home for a vacation from your clay pan fields, couldn't drive close to the border without fear rising in her. Border walls and bullshit politics ravaged the joy of her final years. Cancer took her life. You gladly took her withholding, her revenue, her labor. ICE has never deported a fucking dollar bill. She cruised the ocean looking for whales. Her first and last time out at sea. La migra on her mind, Maria wasn't eligible for treatments, only your low-paying jobs, it said so, somewhere on a stranger's computer on an old piece of paper. Maria was always grateful. And that day, out in the water by San Diego, she was happy to find dolphins that day instead of the advertised whales. So hay que liberar todo, right? We have to liberate everything, and that includes ourselves and our sadness and the sadness of people who don't have the chance to do it anymore. Cultural awakening. So out in the valley, we will create art anywhere and everywhere. We don't care. We'll find a spot and we'll put up a mural. We'll write poems on street corners and in taco shops. Y nos vale madre. We do whatever we want and what we can because it's hard to live in the Central Valley and we need to create beauty. And so one of the things that I'm really lucky to be a part of is the 559 mural project of the Central Valley. And what they've done is included my poems on murals in the walls in places where maybe they don't want to see my poems on murals in the walls. Cultural awakening, because apparently some people need a chancla to wake up. Okay. The land takes care of you. How does the land become a home? When you take care of the land. Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer of the Potawatomi people. One Mother Earth. We gather at her skirts, touching the medicines of her body. She heals our pain of displacement in her winding coils, living ribbons, never asking where we come from before offering us a drink from the river. Lost or exiled, she finds us. We are home in this generosity. To harvest the gifts of the earth, we will care for our great mother. This is a song carried in the rattlesnake basket of the throat, painted on the walls of our eyes. Our hearts will not forget the reed, the rice, and the milpa. The people who lived on this land will not be forgotten in the prayers of the scattered nations, internment camps and labor camps, uprooted flor y canto, furls of cherry blossoms, yellow creamy oak flowers, and fiery prickly pear blooms. Plant us in deep soil with abundant water, free water, no borders or deeds of sale to dishonor the gift of water. Wash us clean of violent dishevel. Protect us from forgetting the word for water in the languages of our people, the many languages. Es como una canción que nunca se olvida el idioma. Live in gift exchange with the earth. Honor her gifts and remember how to live. Learn with each planting and harvest. They tried to bury us, separate us, eradicate us, blow us off the face of the earth, not knowing we were beloved to the earth and the land, beloved to us. Thank you. Lamenting songs. Whoosh. Funeral processions and novenas. Tent City Church. Our ancestors considered physical work a sacred offering. My grandmother tells me I should dedicate myself to my job and home. There is more to this life than working and dying, is there not? Or is there? Everything of beauty and worth went into the ground, willingly relinquished artifacts of our ancestral belief and personal sacrifice. were never meant for human enjoyment. Work is prayer. Oh, nos han convencido de esa madre. This is the instrument of our enslavement. We are still burying our treasure. We are still counting on divine intervention, mixing protest chants with rosary responses, the offerings demanded by the gods of this land, estos surcos, estos files, esta tierra. Thank you. Recently on NPR, you know, we've been hearing all these horror stories, right? And shit to scare us and new monsters and boogeymen. But then they bring back old monsters and old terrible stories. And I heard how they want to hit up those places in Mississippi where they took all of the people from the chicken factories, processing plants. And so I thought I'd bring back this poem to liberate that grief. 600 lives disrupted, 600 families in turmoil, some citizens, legal residents, because that's how ICE operates. In swift turmoil, I know, I remember. 600 questions, 600 homes with children now alone at the beginning of the school year. The PTA will take note of unanswered membership letters sent home. Who will tell the children why the driveway is empty and the kitchen stove cold when they get home? Who will tell them? 600 social workers should have been sent out by ICE to make sure 5-year-old citizens are not locked out of their houses or afraid of the new monsters under the bed. Do not worry about the children. ICE will send out agents to check the status of the ones at home and accordingly accuse the older ones of human trafficking. ICE may even take them to verify their status for the nation's safety. ICE agents are well versed in the interrogation of children. They usually only keep children in custody for 23 days. The children will not be forgotten. Do not worry about the children. 600 things forgotten at home: glasses, medications, rosaries, proper goodbyes. Remember, ICE confiscates your humanity and your blood pressure meds at the processing, food processing. Oh, we love to eat chicken, and the word love is misused for fried chicken. And we love our country of processed foods, processed thoughts, processed lives. And once you pluck a chicken, butcher its corpse, you are pretty much useless to the USA. Welcome to your severance package. Detention center, death camp, hangar in the hottest day of the year in Mississippi. Do you know where your fried chicken is from? 600. It's a clean number. We start there. Tidy when you say it on the news. And the liberation of the deepest beliefs, that's the critical thing, right? The Tepeyac, the many-mouthed woman, revealed herself to her people 1,000 years before the Spanish relayed the good news that God in heaven would love and welcome our brown bodies at the hour of our death. Amen. Blessed is she who demands tribute at the sacred ground at Tepeyac. All mouths open, all flames rising. Fact about fiction, fiction about fact. If you must look away in terror, check your sensibilities at the door. This home is protected by Tonantzin. Her earthen scales form a loving embrace around my fanged heart. I demand all, bleeding for all, giving to all. Why deny the divine when you will all bow down to the mother at last? And in the end, that is the justice of this story. The Spanish friars beheld her and disguised her scales and stars only to assure the return of Tonantzin in all her fanged might. All mouths open, stepping out through time and the bloodline of my peoples. I watched the young mothers placing their children on the altar, kneeling before Mother of all mothers. My serpent tongue flickers with the candle flames. We shed our skins, our old husks, our maguey leaves, our bromelia petals. Thorn flowers spring from the marble floor of the church. We rise from the pews as one. Fuck your conquest. Amen. Thank you.
Aideed Medina, folks. Give it up, presente. Gracias, thank you. And yes, may we all be liberated in this life and the next and the next. Jason Magabo Perez serves as San Diego Poet Laureate 2023-24. Perez is the author of Feminology of Superhero, This is for the Mostless, and I Ask About What Falls Away. Perez's work has appeared in the Feminist Wire, San Diego Union Tribune, NPR's Here and Now, among others. Recipient of a Challenge America grant from the National Endowment of the Arts, Perez has performed at notable venues such as the National Asian American Theater Festival, Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions, and elsewhere. Perez serves as a co-organizer of the Digital Sala and as an associate editor at Ethnic Studies Review. Perez is an associate professor of ethnic studies at California State University, San Marcos. Please welcome Jason Magabo Perez.
Good evening. Thank you to Teresa and Aideed. Thank you, Beyond Baroque. What an honor. I feel real special. This is my third time now reading here at Beyond Baroque, and I'm really humbled by the invitation. I'm going to read from my book. We did a launch here in September, so I should be able to see the words. I think I need new glasses, everybody. But I'm going to read when I was invited to read for a panel titled Poetics of Grief and Liberation. I was like, that's my jam. That's what I don't know if I'm liberated, but I definitely grieve and want to be liberated, right? So I'm going to read from the standpoint of, from the perspective of San Diego, I guess. So this is titled, I Ask About What Falls Away. So I'm going to read a few different sections. It's one long poem, just because I'm saying that it is, but it's a bunch of different forms. There's one long elegy for San Diego. Call this raw material literature. Call this principled surrender. Call this grammar of worry. I draft this, dear Kasama, against fishhooks of hope. I draft against slow elimination. I draft from soft interior of riot. I draft syllables of known sadness, such knowing, such evidence, such kitchen table phenomenology of this reading you, of you reading this. On a rainy morning, I see you through the window in a blue mask and black hoodie, delivering bags of groceries at the doorstep. I draft from collected stillness, restless ghosts archived in my veins. Consider this an intimate poetics of rage. Consider this rage divine refusal. Let us talk about such refusal. Let us talk about such dysregulation of promise. Let us talk about how much I miss you. Drive east on University toward 49th. Park your Civic in the alley out back, this alley of splendor and solitude, a gallery of rain-soaked mattresses. A child will slide down a half-assembled red plastic slide into a small hill of middle-grade paperbacks. You'll find a gold purse filled with fresh broccoli and blue rubber gloves. You'll find prayer at daybreak. This alley will smell of dank weed and brake dust. You'll find on the ground a black tote bag stuffed with wet lettuce and white surgical masks. It'll seem like this was dropped in a hurry. You'll wonder if that hurried person is safe. You'll notice a wire fence across the alley limp as days go by. Swarms of flies will hover above the plastic trash bins. Crows will cross the alley. Someone will keep claiming the telephone pole in blue spray-painted letters you'll never be able to decipher. Someone will be barbecuing carnitas y elote. On sunny days, dried lemon rinds will stick hard to pavement. One day, in front of your Civic, you'll find cleaned chicken bone wrapped in foil. Neighbors on the other end will party. You'll hear bottles clanking, patrol cars will cram the alley for no good reason, and it'll smell of burnt plastic and cigarette smoke. You'll hear sirens, you'll hear laughter. You'll hear water drumming against trash bags full of aluminum cans. This will be an after party for afterlives. An elder neighbor will warn you of drugs and the devil's work. A crew of youth will hotbox an old Pathfinder. On the rainiest days, this alley will be a shallow river. Weeds, shreds of paper, crow feathers, and dried lemon rinds rushing downstream. Someone will break into your Civic. Someone will break into your Civic again, because it's easy. They will steal neither your surplus of Starbucks napkins nor your prized Blackstreet CDs. They will steal some old prescription eyeglasses and a broken pair of headphones. Yes, and there will be the homie. Quiet, please. The homie will be sound asleep on that perfectly fine, barely faded but discarded wooden dining chair. When you see the homie, please leave masks, please leave bottled water, please leave bags of ice, please leave a hot carne asada burrito, and please leave 2 toothbrushes, one for the homie's teeth and one for the homie's Jordan 1s. Place everything in plastic bags, hang the bags gently on the handlebars of the homie's BMX. Shh. This sadness is a politics. This sadness knows, this sadness holds, this sadness wants, warns, warms. Sadness in the shadow of capital. Sadness against white supremacy. Sadness against imperialism. Sadness against tanks and tear gas. Sadness blocking killer cop kneecap near neck. Sadness that in fact is its own godforsaken solidarity statement. If you want to know what we are, melodramatic telenovela sadness, bulletproof sadness, clapback sadness, confessional sadness, abominous sadness, anti-colonial sadness, say, land back. Say, all power to the people. Say, I am the people. Say, I am not the pig. Say, makibaka. Say, makibaka. Say, junk anti-terror law. Say, demilitarize. Say, deoccupy. Say, para todos. Say, la lucha se sigue. Say, hasta la victoria. Say, wag matakot. Say, isulong. Say, ingat. Say, isang bagsak. Say, sadness of my mother's and father's return from home to here, what could be a final return. Sadness of departures, sadness of colonial removal, sadness of perpetual displacement. Such sadness is so Filipino. Such sadness is relational urgency. Such sadness is abolitionist sadness. Such sadness is quotidian sadness. After the graveyard shift, black and brown nurses in gray and pink scrubs wait together at Valerio's city bakery to order silogs and catering, and some of us over-theorize solidarity. In the middle of East 8th, large crows swoop on the carcass of an adorable dead possum, and across the street I see Hiss and Hair's barber shop, and I believe whoever named this business should win the most prestigious of literary awards, and somewhere at work your wrists and your lungs ache and your neck cramps, and you may be coughing and weak with fever, all inside this throb, this rot of racial capitalism. I'm going to ask for some audience participation. You do not have to consent to doing so, but I'm going to ask for it. So let me just find a few different moments, and then I'll wrap up from there. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to break the line down, but I'm going to say a line, you're going to just repeat it, right? So we'll practice first. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. Okay, let's practice that. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. Okay, cool. So we're going to do that. One, and then you, and we're going to exchange that 7 times. It's 14 lines. It's a sonnet. I mean, check the scansion on that though. It's pretty tight. It's not airtight, but it's there, right? But you and I desire nothing short of. So when I do that, I'll say it and then I'll ask you to repeat. But I'll start with a few different moments before we get there. What remains is a temple of internalized rupture. What remains are scraps of syntax. What remains is vulnerable to wage theft. I sing against profit. I sing lost against return. I sing estimated antagonisms. I sing an accumulation of need for what is blessing but bluff but confusion, a weight of need versus a weight of disrepair. All that is different should madden, should thrill. This dead smell, this river of dank, this non-serious kinship of isolation. There is something gentle in rethinking revolution itself, in shrapnel of afterlife, in the disposability of heartbreak, in vinegar of paranoia. In workshop, I sing as replaced tenant, against hello, against the march of history, with cranial guitar strings strummed, hella, 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 hella. Aesthetic of intellect beneath these hands beneath running water, a woman singing. A singing woman, a singed cartography. You are here to disarticulate body from voice, a material dilemma, yes, so singular. You demand prose that stains heart, a hand that fails form. You, thorough haunting, dried mud in your fingernails, are here tonight, and tonight, let children run. Let them gently tear into the sky. Let them imagine, too, what it is to be torn through a lyric of expired want. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. You and I desire nothing short of the unthinkable. Invention of failure of maybe of project of surplus of forever of play of distance of regard of worth of excess of pretext of pause of return of land. After you revolt, you return, you mute, make permutations of afterlife, same shipfire fabulous, same antagonism, same dawning, same graffitied prayer, same thick gesture, such solidarity, such concrete bus rider monologue, mark such lawless friendship whose blood stays tenement fire, whose laughter melts marrow, whose vigor, whose intention, whose lungs, whose regard for whom poetics seems refusal, seems worth this traffic, this devalued affinity toward an exacting neverness of capital, of nothing, of nobody, of nowhere, a citation of a strange body, a non-propertied space for words run amok, words run rampant, words against rampart, words against borders, words for what we do, for what has been done to us to make mourning, to scratch this lit architecture, this swap meet splendor, slack burden, blow, this unbuilt history. You and I, fake, rare confidence. You and I, train, strange, analytic. You and I, ghost, backfire migrations. You and I, exhaust, calm, faith. You and I, tense, firecracker past. You and I break, lack syntax. You and I grammar, this turn. You and I tender, such rapture. You and I sweet talk, geography. You and I monster, most futurity. You and I compute, lost glory. You and I wildfire soliloquy. You and I flea market, friendly. You and I wreck what archive. I ask about what falls away. I ask about where water sings. Here is surplus of sun, ocean of excess, remaindered song. Whose hands wash this sky? Who drains this sun against worry? Whose mighty ache makes history? This is where water drains, where gardens grow against worry, against the throb and rot. And the throb and rot knows nothing but the veil hiding hand from profit. Here's leftover rice and the wild imaginary of hunger. Here is a canal in the crook of the earth. And here is where water sings. And this is water singing us elsewhere. Thank you.
Let's keep giving it up for Jason Magabo Perez, Aideed Medina, Teresa Maychuk. Thank you all for being here. We've got their books in the bookstore.